Welcome folks. Tired of using that old plug timer and running your cords down on the garage floor and then out through the garage door and having to close the door on top of them? Well, stay tuned because we're going to see how to run a digital timer off an existing outlet and add an outdoor outlet to power your holiday lighting with a few parts and a little DIY time. I've been running my lights off of this single outlet through a plug timer, down on the ground and out the garage door, around this brick fascia, and the two cords power all the lights in the front and the side of the house. Here's where the new outdoor outlet will go. Okay, components needed for this job: get yourself 15 feet of Romex, a digital timer, there's many of them online, 2 outlet boxes, get a couple of outlets, one standard indoor and one weatherproof outlet, voltage circuit testers, and the outside in-use cover. Okay, so what we want to do is add a digital timer to this outlet by connecting it within the wall to the timer and the output side of the timer down the inside of the wall to an outside duplex outlet we can plug our holiday lights into. Let's just draw out what the circuit looks like. In my garage, the house circuit breaker is on the left wall of the garage, and our target outlet that we want to connect the timer to is on the right-hand side. First, you want to figure out where the required GFCI is on this circuit breaker leg. Okay, how do you do that? Well, get yourself a GFCI tester, plug it into the outlet, hit the test button, and hopefully you will hear the GFCI that's on this circuit open up with a loud click. Then you can locate it. Just a tip here, those other outlets that are downstream from our target outlet happen to be in the house in bathrooms. So if you take your GFCI tester and plug it into one of those and you hit the test button, if you don't know where that GFCI outlet is, you won't hear it trip if it's in another room. In this case, it's in the garage. So it's a good idea to find out and know where your GFCI outlets are in your house. So we're going to add our digital timer to our target outlet shown here in green, and then run a line in the wall down to an outdoor outlet so we can plug our holiday lighting in. The question is, should this be a GFCI or a normal duplex outlet? There seems to be some debate on YouTube on this topic. The short answer is that this outdoor outlet will be protected by the GFCI outlet that is adjacent to the house circuit breaker box, and that a GFCI for this outdoor outlet is not required. If the GFCI didn't exist next to the breaker box, then yes, we would have to make the outdoor outlet a GFCI, but in this case, it's not needed. Okay, let's see what's behind this outlet. Take the cover off and we find 2 sets of Romex lines, one coming from the upstream GFCI and one going to the downstream outlets. If we wanted to determine which lines were coming from the upstream GFCI, we can disconnect one set and then turn the power back on and check with our tester to determine which one is which. In this case, the bottom set is the power coming from upstream. This isn't required, however, because we're going to connect them both together anyway when we connect in the timer. I was going to use an extension box to replace the original outlet box, but getting that outlet box out is a real pain. So instead, I decided to just make a side hole in the original outlet box using consecutively larger drill and hole saw bits to get the size I wanted. Time to size up the timer box. Check the spot. Connections will come through that hole in the back. Drill a hole, and then it was pretty easy to feed the new Romex through. One more hole to drill. Found it pretty easy to do with this multi-tool. If you don't have one, get one. Then go back inside and feed the Romex down through the wall into the back of your outlet box. Then basically just hook up your outlet, white to silver screws, black to black on this weatherproof outlet. Don't forget the ground connection, and install the in-use cover. Okay, this can look a bit confusing at first. No worries. Simply label or know what wires are what and get yourself some of these 3-conductor push-in connectors, and let's get started. I replaced my old outlet, which only had stab-in connectors, with a preferred one that has side screws. Create yourself a couple of short jumpers and simply connect as shown for the white common lines, and then do the same for the black hot wires. So take your time and make the connections per the wiring diagrams. Remember to push the conductors fully into these connectors and to hook up your ground wires. Push the ground wires in first and/or run a piece of black electrical tape around the outlet screws. It's also helpful to label the remaining timer and outdoor outlet Romex cables for the next step. Drill a couple holes for the timer box mounting screws and drywall anchors, put the timer box in place, and we're ready to make the terminal connections. Sometimes the vendor connection diagrams can be a little confusing, so just remember we need to do three things. 1, power the timer circuitry itself. 2, we need to power the timer switch. And last, we need to hook up our load to the timer switch, which is our outdoor outlet. Timer box terminal connections usually come labeled as T for timer box circuitry and L for line hot and N for neutral or common. The switch itself has a common terminal for one side and a normally open side, i.e. when the unit is powered off, the switch is open. So we connect our hot black wire from the indoor outlet to the COM side of the switch and jumper over to power the timer circuitry. Now, from the outdoor outlet Romex cable, we connect the white common line to the timer common and the indoor outlet common. In AC circuits, the white common lines are typically tied together at a single point, creating a return path for the current from the hot wire back to the power source. And last, we connect the black hot line from the outdoor outlet to the other side of the switch. So current flows from the indoor hot wire through our switch to our outlet hot, through our load, our Christmas lights, and back on the common white wires. These timers usually employ a second switch which could control another outlet or half the duplex outlet shown when wired properly. And don't forget to wire the ground connections together. Okay, connect the terminals as discussed or by your own unit's instructions. This timer was fairly easy. Push the slack in the Romex back into the wall, twist the ground wires together, and connect with a wire nut. This unit had a plastic cover for the wiring and indicator lights for the timer and the load. Check the original outlet for correct wiring with a tester and then plug in some lights to test the unit. I just used an LED ground stake light, and success! Finish up by caulking around the in-use cover and sit back and enjoy your holiday lighting. I hope you found this useful.